Good afternoon. Good afternoon. So I slept relatively many hours tonight, and took the morning to think. From time to time I need to think, and this is one of the things that I've spoken about it in the past. That this is one of the issues that creates the most misunderstanding between me and the Israelis, because the Shabak operators, they don't understand what they are completely alien to this habit. So they watch me and they, of course all the time, and they think that he's not moving, but he's not asleep. So is he maybe he's malfunctioning? Maybe the robot is malfunctioning. Maybe we should press make noise from the street or from the electric appliance, so he will wake up from. Maybe he's stuck, or maybe we need to reset him, or to shout, or maybe he's dead even. We don't understand, because what could possibly a person do if he's not moving but his eyes are open, and he's not watching TV? So and kind of historically it still creates a huge barrier of understanding between our cultures, because I don't have any way to explain to someone that have never in his life ever had this experience of thinking, and almost none of them ever had it, because they are from very early age. It's not that they cannot do it, but from very early age they are educated, even indoctrinated not to do it, because their parents think that it will be and the educators think that it will be extremely dangerous if any of them will ever think. So they have no experience with this kind of activity, so they consider it completely alien, even though in the past it should be said again that humans have done it in Earth. It's not completely alien activity. It was something that humans actually have done on Earth, even procedurally, almost every day. I know it sounds ridiculous to my listener, but in the past there were humans on Earth that actually spent not only that they thought, but they spend time thinking every day. It's as incredible as it might sound now. Anyway, it's completely. It's not only that they don't understand it. It's whenever I do it, it creates it puts them in pressure, because they don't want me to just they thought maybe he's dead, and they don't want him to die in the cage. They want me to die in their own when it's in their own circumstances. So pressure starts to build in Israeli intelligence. Is our robot dead? But no, he's not. He shouldn't be dead now. We want him. So then they do all the sounds and shouting. Because and it's sometimes I even think for more than 10 or 20 minutes continuously. Even if I do it for 15 seconds, it's enough for the operator for in the monitor to start developing unrest. But if it's sometimes it's more than 20 minutes continuously, and then they're kind of tension skyrocketing inside the Israeli intelligence, and and so they the people in the apartment, the Suicide Squad, start to act violently, and so yes. But nevertheless, I cannot abandon this habit of thinking. Actually, it's very beneficial for me. So I do it, and yes, it creates conflicts inside the Israeli intelligence and between them and me. Anyway, I've done it this morning because I needed the time, and yes, it created a lot of you can hear the people in this apartment. They are shouting, and it's immediate response and severe one. But I needed the time to think. I hope sometime in the of course not with Israelis, but maybe in the future, some people, if humans will survive the attack of the cherubs, which seems unlikely now, but if some humans will survive, maybe in the future our civilization might be able to build maybe a bridge, a new understanding. But maybe I'm almost certain this will require the humans to actually rediscover this kind of what now seems so alien to them, this activity or this habit of thinking, and maybe even to reconnect with their own past, because again, your ancestors, some of them, not all of them, probably only a minority, but a significant minority of your ancestors actually have done it, and to sometimes to a great length and success. So maybe you can rediscover this activity, and this, I think, in the future might help our like civilizations, like the humans and the cherubs, like perhaps like create new ways of understanding, like mutual understanding. I mean, like when you will, I mean, you can understand that. I mean, what we actually do when we do not move and our eyes are open, but we do not watch TV. If you will be able in the future to reconnect with your past, and in that way, maybe I think will be a good way for you to understand like what's happening inside the robot, like when his eyes is open and he's not watching TV and he's not moving and like not speaking with someone. So I mean, I think that this kind of understanding, when you will understand what actually happens inside the robot, when this like when like to the outsider, I mean, that's what I mean, the physical appearance that I now described, like of not moving and like eyes open and like presumably being alone and not watching TV and not sleeping. So, and sometimes for seconds and sometimes even for like complete minutes, and like at extreme cases it can last up to 1 hour continuously. So if any of you, like outside of Israel, but any of you can, I mean, and I understand what's actually going on inside the robot. And again, I think that you can do it. I suggest by rediscovering your own past, reconnecting with your own ancestors, maybe ancient ancestors, but certainly your own ancestors, because people have done it all over the globe. Like whatever culture you belong now, I assure you that some of your ancestors have actually done it. Doesn't matter like your color or your religion, like your ethnicity. I assure you, the cherubs are watching humans for a long time, like a long time, like tens of thousands of years. And I assure you, like people all over the globe have actually done it. That they've done it. Your ancestors, whoever you are, some of your ancestors have actually done these things. So if you can reconnect with this experience, this will help you understand the robot, and maybe in the future we will have a kind of like new bridges of understanding. Anyway, so the agenda for now will be the following. First of all, the Excel of the Starship, which is supposed to be like, I mean, kind of like a model after the human design of like space stations, was proven to be very volatile, and this is partly because of engineering mistake, but mostly because the clay, I have a new kind. I mean, there is Dust now. You know Dust. It's one of the synthetic like brands that I use. They don't pay me for endorsements. Anyway, I use Dust. So there's this new kind of like Dust with the wood color. So I bought it, and it's supposed to be like very not recommended. So I do not recommend. Do not recommend this. Do not buy this. It's very weak, and it doesn't dry well, and it's like it's texture, like grainy texture, not like, I mean, smooth texture, which is it's not nice like to the touch. So not recommended. Anyway, so, and I've used this with the pinkish of another like brand. What brand is it? I mean, the Jovi brand. So, which is much better, but I mean, anyway, so it was working. So I need to fix this Excel and let it dry. And later, probably I'll work on the third one, the fourth Starship in parallel. Hopefully we'll get to them in the next chapter in the fairy tale, because I really want like to push it like to the end, like, because I mean it's taking like it's going on for too long. So I mean I don't want people to be too to build tension. So let's try to like, I mean, release the future episode, and there aren't many like quickly. So I'll try to do that as well. So also what also I want to do today is, yes, so the fourth Starship will I want to put like in each of the like the balls, the 20 balls that are it will be a little different design, somewhat similar to the first one, in which it will be like, I mean, the balls will be kind of like, I mean, more like discs than balls. So it will be more like shallow. So of course I need to put like a specimen from here. So that's what will be done. But before that, what I want to do is actually to take samples very gently from the crucible, and to try to actually watch it under the microscope. without burning and without breaking it. Because what we have now, actually, after it's cool during the night, what we see here, you see, I mean, maybe it's gold. Is it gold? Because it gets like the gold color. So it really looks like gold. So what we have in here is the wax like, that was solidified with, of course, oils and other material, and I mean other materials that are part of the mixture, and a huge amount of like really unnecessary paper that was used like as kind of like, I mean, for several purposes, but mostly like, I mean, kind of like I mean, for the burn. So the paper will be mostly what's inside the balls, even though it's kind of like the less valuable thing, because probably, I mean, it contains less life forms and neurons than the actual wax, but we'll actually watch under the microscope to see. But in any case, I mean, the paper is soaked with the solidified golden wax. So I mean, so it should like contain some life forms. So what I want to do now, and this should be done very gently, is to take 3 or 4 specimens from here, from this crucible, both of the wax and of the paper, and to cut it very gently, and to put it like on a slide without cover, and to see if we can actually, I mean, see something in like under the microscope. It should be difficult because, again, it's backlight microscope, so if it's not liquid based, and it's not, because I'm not going to melt it, only very, very thin layers of like translucent material, like wax, can actually be recognized. So I'll try to do it, so we'll have like a chance to see how the solidified material looks. And then I'll prepare the Starship, I mean, with 20 samples. Regarding the slides, some people, I mean, they want me, they think like, I mean, that I mishandled the slides because presumably, I mean, many of them are of historic significance. And I'm certain many people would actually want to take, I mean, to get the slides, either in order to eat them, because some of the slides, as you've seen, like the 6th one yesterday, contained like a ton of neurons, and maybe for scientific purposes, because some of the slides are really, I mean, of historical significance, like from scientific perspective, like the one with the several flies that we've seen a while ago. But so I'll tell you what the problem is. That thought is not new to me. I've spoken about it a lot, like since December, like since the beginning, because I mean, since the beginning, like since the beginning of January, I mean, I've seen several slides that, I mean, I consider them historical, and some of them I actually have right here, like in the box, like, I mean, with me, like the one with the clone of the flies, or all sorts of things like that. But the problem, and for some time I even like suggested to sell the slides. I kind of spoken about it, like in YouTube, several times. But I'll tell you the problem. First of all, I cannot sell anything while I'm a slave. I need to be rescued using arms and legs. I'm not going to participate in any charade. I cannot sell anything while I'm kept in Nazi prison with a suicide squad that tortured me all day and all night, and the internet is blocked. The idea that I can sell you stuff like, I mean, while this is the situation, is ridiculous. I'm a slave. I can only give things for free, and that's what the Shabak wants, and this will not happen. Humanity will die, but I will not give things for free, no. If you want something for me, for free, or maybe in exchange for money, both cases, you need to rescue me from the Nazi prison, me and my daughters, using arms and legs. I will not participate in any marketplace charade while I'm being tortured and in cruel prison that I'm without any justification, surrounded by people that I hired by the states to murder me. No. This will not happen. It cannot happen. So first of all, it's impossible to sell slides because it's impossible to sell anything. Because I'm a slave. Slave cannot sell anything. Slaves are property. Property cannot sell. Property is sold, is not sold, it's sold. You need to release me from the state of being property if you want anything from me. This is first. Second, it's more of a technical issue. I don't have the physical conditions to actually maintain those much of these slides. I mean, several slides were kept with me in kind of like, I mean, in a container, but most of it I must like clean or destroy or throw to the garbage. And I understood it a long ago, and I even spoke about it like since January, that it was even to in my mother's apartment where I had a little bit more space, but right now I'm confined to this room, and I don't have space, I don't have the tools, I don't have containers, I don't have money, I don't have nothing, that I just cannot store these slides. I know that many of them are interesting, but I cannot store them. And sometimes I just I throw it like to the garbage, and maybe people take it. I mean, I don't know, do whatever they want with it. But I just, I mean, I'm there is so much garbage that, that like piling all around me, and you know that this is kind of like a very dangerous. Some of it is actually dangerous garbage because it's like mutated life form and synthetic microbes and synthetic life forms. But I mean, it's piling all around me, and so I need like to throw it to the garbage from time to time. Because I can't like, otherwise I will be like, it will be, I will just, be living like in a cage that is full of like synthetic and germs and biological mutated germs and I don't know what. I don't have any way to store it, so I need to throw it to the garbage, and that's what most of it find a way to the garbage. It's a shame, but what can I do? And yes, many slides are of historical significance, and I throw it because I can't have any place to keep it. Now this is even more true. It's even more true. Like the case is even like now. With the new, like I'm starting since yesterday, and I'm going to keep with this idea. I think maybe not, but I started to use slides without cover because if we want to be able to watch like big things, even though the slides with the 4 like flies that was so exciting, it was covered, but maybe it was a lucky one. I don't know. Maybe many times I use until now I use the cover and I press it like as you should do, and maybe they just destroyed like the animal, and maybe we have lost like all sorts of interesting stuff, because once we deal with if we deal with microscopic like entities, so yes, the proper way is to submerge them in liquid if we are not already in kind of like a natural liquid, and to put like a very tiny bit of the liquid on the slide and to put the cover so it will be as thin as possible. And this is like the classical way to prepare a biological sample, a microscopic slide with biological sample for backlight microscopy, which is by far the most common type of slide that is used all over the world since the 19th century. Like this is the classical, it's the oldest and the classical, and then like that's the way like Van Leeuwenhoek done it, like the first microscoper like 300 years ago, and it's still used today. And this is the most like, and it's still used today in order to discover like to get like samples from like cultures, like to know if like a person has disease or something. This is the straightforward way to do it. Like to take a sample to put it like in liquid if it's not already in liquid. Like if it's like a blood sample, it's already in or semen, it's already like in liquid. So, but put it in liquid because it's if it's completely dry, it's difficult to watch under the microscope, and cover it with a slide to make it like as thin as possible, and then you use backlight microscopy. This is like the straightforward and the most common way to use microscope. Like throughout the world, it was like since hundreds of years ago. Of course, along the years, there was other like methods that were used, and they are less commonly used, but because this is the best way. This is the easiest and the best way to actually detect. The presence of. I forgot that another part of like classic microscopy is also the stain, like to color. The stain, cold stain, to color the samples. This is used to enhance contrast, and also to identify. To artificially identify. Create a kind of differentiate between different types of microbes. So it's also the easiest way to do it is with this kind of like method. So this way is so common because it gives you, it's the best and most simple way to actually check if you have like a certain type of microbes inside the sample, which is it always has been and still is like a major application of microscopy, because you want to know if a person has got something like a disease. Of course, first you need like to put it in the culture so they will multiply, because otherwise you need to be very lucky to find like a specific one. But they always multiply given the correct conditions. So after like 3 days or 4, it's almost like certain that if the person has germ like in his blood or semen or whatever, it will be exist in the culture, and then and you can also apply the stain like the color, and it will this. So this is the proper way. The most common way still, but but when it gets, it's so common that it is. It gets all sorts of like drawbacks, and specifically, it's not that beneficial for the actual, like, I mean, in order to watch details of non-microscopic samples. And that's like what we try to do now, because these flies are not microscopic. Even though it's nice to watch them like under the microscope, they are not microscopic because you can watch them in the naked eyes. They're big enough. And we've seen like animals that are created with neurons that are not microscopic since long ago. This in itself is not a new thing. But what's new is that mostly what I've seen is worms or something like, I mean, beetles that, I mean, that are not very sophisticated in shape and very blobby. So, I mean, it was very difficult to see anything like with backlight microscopy. And these kind of like flies that they create now, they are of like the texture and shape of like of flies that we know from Earth, even though of course they are made of different material. So it means that they are, I mean, that the bones and the wings are translucent. So it's that actually very nice to see it with backlight microscopy. But if I use the cover, it can like squash them, make like, I mean, break it completely. So what I'll try to do now is not to use covers, as I've done yesterday. But this also, I mean, makes it even more difficult to store it, because like I don't have any idea how can I store such things, like, I mean, and I don't want to even get into it. Like, I mean, I have no money, I have no equipment, I have like no storage room, so probably it will all go to the drain. And I'm sorry for that. I can only say that, I mean, it's mathematically true. I mean, that whatever inside those slides is like, you can find it in much greater quantity in the container. This is sample. I mean, by definition, I mean, anything you can see in the slides, I mean, there is like million times more, like 100 times more, 100,000 times more in the container. I take this, I mean, every slide, I mean, contains just, I mean, one drop, but I mean, there is like a whole, like, I mean, the containers contains like, I mean, maybe a liter of like this material, like I mean, this container. But I have other containers with many, like several, maybe in total maybe 6 liters of like water and wax and all sorts of things that is full of neurons and life forms. So, and when I create these sculptures or these eggs, you see I have many eggs here, I mean, partly that I made here in this kind in this hostel, and part are old eggs from my mother's apartment. As I've said, I've created hundreds of these eggs like during the last 2 years, but most of it was destroyed. So I have the eggs and I have the Starship that I create now, and that are basically the same idea but much larger, because every Starship contains like, I mean, the equivalence of 20 eggs. So most certainly, I mean, if those eggs and Starships contain, in addition to my semen, which they always contain my semen, in addition it will contain a sample from the containers, and I've started to do it in this hostel. It's something that I haven't done like in the past. So, but all the new eggs contains all those samples from like the containers, and all the Starship contains like the eggs contain samples from containers. So, like, I mean, until now I use the aquarium containers, but now we will use containers we will use samples from the wax container. So, I mean, and then I wrap it in like nylon and sometimes aluminum foil. Now I will not use aluminum foil, only nylon. And then I wrap it with several layers of clay, so it will be protected. So most certainly, what you can find inside these clay eggs or clay Starships is, I mean, many times more than, I mean, it's the same and many times more than what could be found on the slides. So it's not that like only the samples are thrown away, but I mean, also the eggs, also most of them were destroyed. I mean, but I didn't have any other option, because the Shabak, I mean, tortured me. They wanted it so much, and they only like decreased their torture when I burned this, like, or I mean, destroyed it. That's my life. Bridge over River Kwai. You build something in order to destroy it. In any case, I mean, if I'm not going to destroy it, and if the people of the Shabak will not pressure me to destroy it or to give it to them for free, as it was the case during the last 2 years, because it's 2 years that this is the case, that, I mean, that they want it for free and I don't want to give. I mean, they took it for free before, but I understood 2 years ago that they wanted my semen. So since then, I do not throw it to the garbage as they want, but I put it like in clay eggs, and then I destroy the eggs eventually. So if it will not be destroyed, which mostly, I mean, they will certainly be destroyed, I mean, if I will be indefinitely in this prison, because as time passes, the tension will also rise, will only rise. But if, I mean, in some kind of like near future, or, I mean, my daughters will be rescued from this Nazi hell, presumably I will have these, like, the clay items in my possession, and I see no reason why at a minimum they should, like the clay, these clay bolts and Starship will contain, like at a minimum, the equivalent material that you see on the samples, but like multiplied by like 100 or 1,000 times, or 100, at least 100 times, because each clay egg contains something like, I don't know, maybe 50 or 100 times like what you can get in a sample, in a microscopic sample. And I have many of those, already many of those eggs and like these Starships. And I say the minimum because, most probably they can also multiply inside the clay container. Most probably. So most probably with time, they only multiply. But this was actually never tested. I've never broken an egg, and I've broken hundreds of eggs and burned them and so on to the Yukon River or to all sorts of unreachable places. But I've never broken an egg and watched what's inside under the microscope. I haven't done it yet. And maybe I should do it. I intend to do it sometimes. It's one of the things that in the list. It's not of the highest priority, but at the minimum you will. The neurons will not die. If they are. If they are kept sealed and they will not die. So what was there when I tested them should be there, but maybe much more, because we can see that they can multiply. They can multiply in all sorts of environments, like in even sealed environments, like it was manifestly true in the metal containers that I used to enrich wax. Very successfully actually. And much of this wax is actually what now inside the crucible. So bottom line, yes, I don't have any way. I saw long ago too, these slides. Some of them are very groundbreaking from the scientific perspective, and I lament the fact that most of what I see in these slides should be so away. But I have no way. I didn't have the opportunity in my master's department, and certainly not now. I have no way to store and to keep these slides. I have no room at all even to move in this place. Certainly not to keep such delicate things. And this is even more so when we use slides without cover, that I'm very gentle, and the ones that I've started to use yesterday, and I intend to keep try this, not to use the covers, because I think that the cover just breaks big things, non-microscopic life forms. And the cover technique is mostly is done for it's good for microscopic things that are floating in a liquid, but not for big stuff like insects. And I don't have any way to store it, but it's mathematically I don't see why not. It shouldn't be true that by definition it's a sample, so the contains millions of times. The entirety of the whole containers contain millions of times what you can get in every piece of slide, and some of this material found its way slowly finds its way into the clay sculptures, and so it should be preserved there. Because it's both wrapped in nylon and sometimes in aluminum, and then several layers of natural and synthetic clay that should give it protection even from radiation. And you know that Israelis like to radiate us. It's kind of their hobby, to torture us with radiation. That's one of the reasons from the beginning that I've started the whole idea of buying clay and wrapping it with clay, because it is known, I don't even know if it's true, but it's kind of a known thing even from popular culture that clay is a good protection from radiation. Maybe it's even untrue. I have never checked it, but it's kind of a thing that was in my mind 2 years ago, and so that's why I started to store these things in clay. So presumably, if I'm going to be rescued from this hell one day, and the sculptures are still with me, most of the material should still be there, and this includes tremendous amount of neurons, but also life forms, and possibly even life forms that were created inside the sculptures, the clay sculpture. But this was never been proved, because I never checked it. I never actually took a sample from a broken egg after several months or so. Should be said that it's going to be much easier to actually test if they can multiply both the neurons and the life forms, and it's not mutually exclusive, because we've seen that in the ecosystem path. I mean, this actually it depends in each other. I mean, the multiplication of the life forms and the growth and the multiplication of the neurons are in beginning. I thought that maybe, I mean, they're kind of like, I mean, they compete with each other, and because I didn't understand like how. First of all, I didn't understand that these are synthetic life forms. I thought maybe these are just like regular life forms, but it's obviously not the case, and even just by the size, it's different like in the regular life forms, the microbes. But moreover, I mean, the very important experiments with the aquariums, with all the oil and the rocks, proved to me that the whole idea that, I mean, they compete with each other is false, because what actually happens is that the neurons create those life forms. They are the creators. It's not like natural, I mean, like real, like normal biological microbes that are multiplying. These are creations of the neurons. They create them, and then they multiply, like regular bacteria, and they become larger, and at the same time, the neurons eat them. They are used as food for the neurons. They chop them, and you can see, like, I mean, the layer, like in the blue layer, which is kind of like a chopped shawarma, and they eat them, and then they multiply and become bigger. So, and then they create more life forms. So they multiply, I mean, together, and they go together. Of course, there should be like a limit, like, I mean, there's also like a limit of the size of the container, and other things that should be an air supply, and I mean, all sorts of things that should be in the container, but not all of these life forms require air. Some do, some don't. And it was manifested, and some actually multiply in the metal boxes that are airtight, and even pretty big ones. Not all of them actually require oxygen. So they multiply together. So it will be easier to test if they multiply well inside the clay sculptures, if what I'll put inside is not just, I mean, wet samples that I've done until now, but actually pieces of wax. Because it's difficult to test the wet samples once it's inside the paper, like in the clay, and the wax should be like, I mean, pretty much the way that you put it in, when you place it. But I mean, if they multiply, it will be much more dense with neurons and life forms. So actually, the sculptures that I create today, like the Starship that I made of 20 eggs that contain, like, each of the eggs contains one ejaculation, but also a piece, like a hard piece of wax from the crucible. This will actually be the first time that I actually create like a sculpture that it will be easy to see, to actually check if the life forms and the neurons are multiplying well inside it. But we need like a month or 2 months in order to get like very good results, because as you understand, the ecosystem pathway of multiplication, which means that the neurons do it without external source of energy, just by, as I described now, by creating life forms, letting them multiply and eat them. It's slower. It's much slower than, I mean, like the energetic pathway that is done with electrolysis or with fire. And we will need like a month or 2 to actually be able to easily test it. What I can still do is to take like very old egg, maybe one from them that I have like from my mother's apartment, that many of them are like almost like half a year old or even more than that, and try to see if, like, I mean, if like the paper inside can, I mean, maybe you can see result, but it will be more difficult. Anyway, it's not top priority to do it, and most certainly it will not be done today, because today I want to like concentrate and like creating the force. I mean, creating these 20 eggs with wax, and starting like the fourth Starship, and also fixing the third Starship and making it more durable with other types of clay, and take some microscopic samples of the like golden wax. I wonder, maybe it's really gold. I mean, I have no way to test it. I mean, like the crown of Archimedes, I don't have a way to test like golden nuggets or gold dust to see if it's really gold. It looks like gold, but you know, not everything that looks like gold is gold, as they say. So so also we will do some several microscopic reviews with the like the hard material from the container, and hopefully we will find time to advance in the Three Sisters story. So that's the agenda for today. And please rescue me and my daughters from the Nazi prison using arms and legs. We do not require mouths and tongues from humans. We require arms and legs.